All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rocky Series podcast. I am Ryan, your host. My brother Ruben isn't able to be here today just due to family life and just work and family. I feel bad. Every time I seem to do these interviews, my brother is always very busy and I'm very busy. But just two working dads with families, it's hard to correlate the two of us to get interviews in with our guests. Speaking of guests, we're really excited today for episode 52 of the Rocky Series podcast. We have with us Patti Negri, and so introduce yourself, Patti.
My name is Patti Negri. Good pronunciation. I live in Hollywood, Los Angeles. I am a psychic medium and an actor, and I have a production company called Brain Brew Entertainment. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Yeah.
That is awesome. Okay, well, people are probably wondering, and that's a fair wonder, is why in the world does Ryan have Patti on the show? What does Patti have to do with Rocky? Well, let me tell you. So I'll just give a little background for you, Patti. So I've been, my brother and I have been doing this Rocky podcast, and we obviously were fans of the show, and we've been trying to get people who have been in the movies, and as you can imagine, it was hard to find anyone alive in
I know.
for Rocky 1 and 2. There was very little people alive, and of course we just had poor Mr. Appleton pass away from cancer, who directed the first Rocky and the fifth Rocky. Yeah, people, I mean, even Mr. Stallone himself is 70 years old. So we're all getting a little bit long in the tooth as we come along. And I figured, well, when I got to Rocky 3, I said, there's got to be people around in Rocky 3. And so I was going through IMDb and just Googling names, and some names are very common, so it's hard to find. Is this the same, like, Jerry Jones? That it wasn't. Yeah. So your name is unique enough that I saw you in IMDb, and I saw that you're one of the dancers. I think you're credited as a dancer or singer or something like that.
Singer. And
I was like, you know what? I bet you I know exactly where this singer was singing, and that was with Frank Stallone during the failed training montage of Rocky before he lost to Clubber Lang, and when Rocky was all like training in that hotel. So I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Patti, I want to hear about your experience on getting hired for that role, standing next to Frank Stallone, seeing Sylvester behind the camera, being at that hotel. Anything you can give me as a fan, I would just love to hear.
I will give it all to you. And it was really one of the highlight moments of my life, I must say. This was a long time ago, 1982. So I was pretty darn young, but I was a grown-up. I wasn't 12. But I had been hired. I was kind of somewhat new to the Hollywood scene. And I had been hired as a Rocky girl, which they had all these cute young girls running around in little shorts and T-shirts. We weren't the ring girls because those were in bikinis, but we were in the cute little shirts and shorts. We were in that big scene, and I thought it was pretty cool that I got that job. It was like a union extra job, I think, but that was cool. So all of a sudden, Sylvester Stallone, who was really nice, he goes, we need the song with my brother. We need backup singers. And he goes, who here sings? And again, there's like 200 of us. And the one thing I really don't do is sing, but I'm one to say yes to everything. And I'm like, I do. And I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? So Sylvester walks up to me, goes, back me up here. And it was that, take it back, baby. It was easy. Anybody, even a non-really good singer, could do it. It was no range. It was an easy melodic thing. And he goes, you got it. Okay. And then every other girl in the place raised their hand. They could do it. They could do it. They could do it. But he stood up for me, and he really did stand up for me because there's a thing in the Actors Union. It's called Taft-Hartley. You're in the Screen Actors Guild. It's hard to get in the Screen Actors Guild. It's one of those catch-22s some people takes their whole career to get through. Oh, wow. You can't get a union job unless you're in union. You can't be in the union unless you have a union job. It's that thing. So all of a sudden, one of the producers came up to Sylvester. They go, some of these other girls who raise their hand are already in the Screen Actors Guild union. I think this was a Screen Extras Guild or something. They go, you have to use one of them because otherwise it's going to cost us however many hundreds of dollars. No big deal. But Sylvester Stallone said no. He said, no. She raised her hand first. She's got everything she needs. She can do it. She looks the part. She can sing the part. I'm sticking with her. So he really, really stood up with me. So then we went off, and I met his brother, and we rehearsed like for hours while everything else was going on. We were rehearsing the song, Take It Back. Again, very easy. We were standing there going like this, what backup singer girls do. And again, I was just loving every second of it. And then, so we shot it, and it went really great. I remember celebrating with champagne after I got my SAG card, Sylvester Stallone SAG card. It really, ask any actor, it's a huge deal.
Oh, yeah, well, I can imagine. So who signed it? He signed it?
Well, I don't know if he signed it, but he okayed it. It's a big deal. He okayed it. So I remember celebrating with champagne. And then I remember when the movie came out, though, it was pretty funny because I was waiting for my big number. I might be on the album. I'm not even sure. And instead of doing our Take It Back, Baby, they played Eye of the Tiger or something else over it. I don't remember the song.
It was Pushing. It was called Pushing.
Okay, see, you know these things. Much better than I. So they played that song, and they turned ours into a montage. So instead of my 3-minute song, there's my moments. I cannot believe you actually found it. It's like I hadn't seen that in years.
Yeah. So
like, wait, there I am. But again, that was a momentous occasion of my life, and really set me on my whole path of this crazy town. And
that is awesome.
The coolest thing about it is I get checks at least once a month from that movie.
Really?
Most residuals ever.
Wow.
Ever. Because I've done all sorts of different movies. You could look at my IMDb, but no, I think Rocky movies are played more than any other movie in the world.
That's fantastic.
And they line it out. Free TV, pay TV, video TV, this TV, that TV, and you get different amounts for each one. And it's kind of opposite what you think. Like pay TV, you don't get money for. Free TV, you get bigger money for. I mean, the monies are all different. But I've done so many different things, and once a year you get a residual, twice a year. This at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. There's a Rocky marathon somewhere. yeah,
it shows on AMC a lot. I know that the Rocky marathons. That is so cool. So, how many days were you on set there?
I think that was one big day. I think I had 2 other days in the crowd of the Rocky girl before that in the thing. So I think that was a pretty long day. But I that one day for that, and I think 3 days in total is what I did that whole film.
Wow. That is, man, I have to say I'm so jealous you got to just have a conversation with Stallone.
He was really awesome. I must say he was dedicated. He he started it, he directed it. I think he directed that one. Yeah, because he was telling everybody what to do. But in between, he was conscientious, he was kind, he was respectful. He was all of that. And then, he'd tell me what to do. He'd tell other people what to do. He'd hit the floor and do a bunch of push-ups so he could bulk himself up. And then he'd get up and he'd do the scene. And then he'd go through it all again. We're shot over here because you have to tell the camera over here and camera over there, reset, up, do all that stuff that usually takes one person's full time. And then he'd pump it up, hit the floor, do push-ups, and then act the scene. I was pretty impressed.
I know. How handsome was he at the age of 35 back then?
He was handsome. He was really handsome. He was, he was Rocky. At that point, everybody knew who he was. He was a perfect body. He was
I asked because you were a young female. Then this was like a huge star. I don't know how you like. I would have been pawing it. I still would paw at him. 7 years old. I've got this man crush on him. I have to admit, I've been a fan my whole life, and it's just funny now to think about that. How old he is compared to how old I am now. So like in that movie, he's 6 years younger than I am now in that movie. It's weird to think now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hope to age as well as he has, but boy, as well as you have too, by the way. You must have been 3 years old in that movie.
Right. 3 years old. Not even close. No, if we look at IMDb, there's no secrets. They won't even take your age off. There's a lawsuit going on that. It's funny.
What's that?
Because the one thing that, I don't have an age issue, but the one thing that most actors do, because Hollywood doesn't like you after 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and right there, it has your name, it has your age. It's like, I tried to take it off once or like make me the age of Barbie or something ridiculous. They won't do it. And this past year, actually, there's a bunch of stars who are trying to sue IMDb, and they're in a lawsuit, and they still won't do it. I just did it recently, again, just for the heck of it. I said, you know, this age, I don't have a problem with my age, but does it have to be blasted right there? And I get this big thing, we will not take it off, blah, blah, blah. There was, you know, lawsuits pending, and we're here for
weird. Yeah, well, I actually don't know your age, and you don't have to say if you don't want to, but that is interesting. It's funny how we are with age, you know, like I always say the alternative is quite worse. I don't know what people want.
I know. And again, I'd rather be a youngish old person than an old young person.
Yeah.
And I will tell you right now, I'm 60.
Oh wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's funny that now we're talking a little bit. Well, maybe we'll go back to Rocky here and there, but we are talking about we kind of hinted at it. Death. The theme for your life now is in a way death. Am I wrong?
No, well, it's one of the themes of my life. It's true because I've been talking to dead people since I was 3 years old. I didn't even think it was weird. I just knew the so-called imaginary friends little kids have weren't all imaginary. They were real spirits and entities that I could talk to and communicate and get real information with. I used to astral travel, tell my mother what color every room in the neighbor's house was and how ugly the wallpaper was in the bathroom, and talk to dead folks and things. I just didn't think it was weird.
Okay, so I'm gonna pepper you with questions and comments because I'm a skeptic, but I'm a believer, if that makes sense. Because there's things in my life that I can't explain, and I don't. I love science. I'm all about what you can measure and what can be in the material world. But I also recognize that just because it hasn't been measured yet, or we haven't figured out how to measure something yet, doesn't mean it isn't real, if that makes sense. So I'm open to the idea that there's science is already starting to prove that there's alternate universes, that there truly could be an infinite number of alternate universes. So with those alternate universes, there's infinite possibilities. So we could just be in that universe right now where, the possibility of speaking to something outside of these walls of realities, or what we consider reality, is there. And I think, so I got so many questions. Actually, here's a question that I want to ask before I forget. It's kind of, would you say that to be, now, are you referred to as an empath at all?
Sometimes. Empath means you feel things.
Right.
There's clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. I do kind of a little bit of everything. And I do feel, I am an empath. It's like, whoa, I got a headache from that person over there.
Okay.
I don't hold on to it because I've learned over the years not to, because then you walk around like, whoa.
Well, the question I have is somebody in your field, I hesitate, I've wagered to guess that you can't be a jerk. Is that wrong? I mean, you know what I mean by that? Like, no. I almost feel like the type of person that would tap into the other side, so to speak. I feel like people that are empathetic, or people that are conscious of those feelings, usually tend to be kind people. Or have you met unkind people in your field, I guess?
No, as a rule, I think you're right, because again, we do it from the heart. It's a calling. We have this gift, and it's a calling. We kind of can't help it. I try to do all these other things, and it always comes back here. Not saying you can't be a jerk. There is ones. Ego is a wild animal, and there's certain ones you get to a certain level of stuff, and all of a sudden they start believing all their press. They can get a little jerky. But usually that's when a fall comes, and then they get humbled again and come back. But
so that was a question I had before we started. I was like, I want to ask her about just the personality types that go into
most everybody I know is fabulous. I'm actually president of the American Federation of Certified Psychics and Mediums, which is it's a nonprofit who was started by a guy who goes, God, if anybody needs a professional organization, you guys do, because it's true. For everyone good and legitimate psychic, empath, medium, intuitive, there's 100,000 fakes and scam artists. It's just true.
Well, that's what some of our I think some of our audience are thinking that right now.
Yeah, and it's true, and sadly, it's true. If you go into a place, especially usually the places with a hand and its palm reader's $25, that's a little scary. And there's this whole old, I don't want to use the word negatively, gypsy mentality. You walk in and they'll, whatever they charge you, $25, 25 cents, 2,500. All of a sudden, if they say you have a demon attached, or there's a curse on your family, you're never going to find love, this is going to happen, run. It's bull. It's bull crap. It isn't. Okay. That's when they're trying to get out of you. A really good psychic intuitive empowers you for what you have, and you're not. You don't all of a sudden owe extra money. You'd have to come back for 10 more sessions. You have to do this or that. It's just a scam. And some of them are actually a little bit talented people with the gift. Yeah. But they're scam artists, and some are not. There's a whole technique called cold reading That's you could fake being a psychic easily. A lot of magicians who do mentalist work know that technique, and they're not psychic at all.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I listened to some skeptic like podcasts and stuff, and they're able to basically do that type of thing to show how cold readers can do that to get information out of you just by talking to you. And it's quite a skill, but they're being dishonest about what they're doing.
They're dishonest, and they're not going to really. They're getting things out of that you aren't. When somebody who's legit, you get stuff that you really couldn't know, like. A really practical thing I got recently, this was part of a séance I was doing, because that's one of my specialties of mediumship. And this young guy had passed away. Sad story, leaving a young wife and a young kid. And they had his iPhone, and all the pictures and all the videos were in it, and they did not have the code. And that was about the time when the FBI was doing a big thing trying to get into somebody's, and iPhone would not give them the code.
Oh, right,
The spirit gave me the code. They got in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's practical. And that's nothing I could get with cold reading.
No, of course not. I mean, the ability to just pick up random numbers happens to be someone's passcode. That's incredible. Now, let's I want to ask first, what was your first earliest memory of you're having something happen to you where you're communicating? Who or what was this that you're communicating with? And how did you know, like, oh, wait a minute, not everyone's doing this? Kind of a loaded question, but...
Okay. No, like I said, I really knew I was kind of a shy, kept to myself kid, and I had played in my room a lot with my toys and things. And then I did have these special friends that little kids have. The only thing is, again, they really gave me real information about stuff. The little guy that lived in my closet, which again is the cliche little kid thing, but there really was a little guy that lived in my closet. And I always had this thing for the other side, not morbid, but this thing for death. And I just wanted to talk to the other side. Other than, I don't know what the spirits I was talking, because there's the spirits, like a seance can come. There's ghosts, which are dead humans, usually passed over, sometimes not. There's the residual haunting, which is just like Memorex. It repeats over and over again. It's like burned into the fabric of time.
Yeah, science is trying to explain that. Actually, science is trying to explain. They call it ghost echoes. Is that something?
Yeah, it's like a ghost echo. And then there's the everything else category, which are things that were never human that can get into the angel category, the fairy category, the elemental category, extraterrestrial category. But I always had a thing about talking to dead people. So I was 7 or 8, or probably 7.5, and I wanted to do a seance. I didn't even really know what it was, but I would find myself in the backyard picking herbs and oil and things and knowing what to do with them. So I brought my best little girlfriend, Sherry Jones, into my little suburban house hallway that didn't have windows, just the one light on and off, closed all the doors, then realized, oh, I don't know any dead people. Well, Marilyn Monroe and John Kennedy, they're dead. It was the late 60s. They're dead. So I think I came up with my first chant. And then lo and behold, my windowless, lightless hallway filled with big, bright lights, orbs running through. We being, 7 or 8,
sure,
ran out screaming, but inside I was like, yes, this is real. And I've spent my whole life being a seeker, studying religion, philosophy, esoteric sciences, the occult sciences. I take everything down to energy. And if you take everything down to the level of energy, there's basic truths in all of them, whether you're a science-toting atheist or a born-again Christian, or you're a new age, whatever, or you're a witch pagan. The basic truths are the basic truths, and everything you take it down to energy.
Right. No, I like it. I like it. And I like your style. I like the way you're explaining things. You're not a quack, as some people. Well, we are a little bit, I guess. Here's a question I have. We often hear about people who communicate with the dead and a place that's haunted. Often we refer to haunting as, haunting is often referred to as the cupboards opening. You also hear sometimes of malicious attacks on an individual, and usually it's in a place where there was something traumatic that happened. It could have been a murder. It could have been usually it's a murder, I guess. But why is it when a ghost or a spirit that's departed, why is it they stick around when something needs to be resolved, and then you figure out what it is that needs to be resolved, and then it gets resolved, so to speak, and they don't cause any more ruckus. Is that something you're familiar with or understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and my dog too.
Yeah, no worries. And the question I have then is, how are these spirits? I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? How are they able to understand enough to know that things aren't resolved and it's done for them, but they make peace with it? Why are they not able just to bypass the whole us doing something for them so they can quote unquote move on?
Well, sometimes they do. And I've crossed over lots of spirits. Again, usually they are like, I have a lovely little spirit that lives in my house. She lived here before us. She bought the house in the 60s. She passed in 98. She likes to hang. She's not stuck here. Didn't have a hard life. She just likes the life force that she feels here. She knows I can see her. She communicates. She takes pictures out of frames. She plays my husband's drums that are 12 feet in the floor that you couldn't reach. Their name's Adrian. She's great.
That would scare me. What, am I just a wimp? How are you not scared?
No,
I think that's what everyone's asking.
I've been doing this my whole life. It's not scary. And I also live in a world of light and good spirits and good ghosts. So it's like, you live in the world you create. If I wanted to go be a demon hunter or work in the dark side, that's the world I would live in. But I don't. Like, my regular seances are, let's bring in grandma and grandpa and all your dead friends and relatives. It's good. Now, my work on like my TV stuff, like Ghost Adventures, that I'm going to go someplace dark. That, it's we're going to the Black Dahlia murder house, or we're going to the house where there was the home invasion murder. I never know where I'm going, unless it's like the Black Dahlia house. I know where I'm going. It's a really famous house, and I had experienced something there before, so that's why they called me in that particular Ghost Adventures to do a seance. But we did cross over one spirit. You don't see it on the TV show. 3 girls came in. Oh my gosh, there's no doubt in my mind that this doctor, I let him possess my body. He talked through me, and he's a horrible women hater, misogynistic serial killer, and he killed probably like 9 women. And I mean, that's going to the dark side, but I don't take it home with me, and that's good.
Well, you're brave. It fascinates me, the paranormal, as we'd say, but it scares the poop out of me.
Well, the one thing that I'd learned, again, doing this my whole life, is that this is our realm of existence. This 3-dimensional world, whatever, this particular realm is our world. Mirrors, that's why mirrors are actually portals. They go into that 2-dimensional world. That's why spirits can use them. You put 2 mirrors across from each other, you're going to create a spirit highway. Or when something bad happens, like doesn't have to be as famous as the Black Dahlia house. One of the last Ghost Adventures I did, Chatsworth House of Evil or something, it had been a home invasion. I didn't know. All I had was an address to go to. All of a sudden, I'm choking on the floor of the bathroom and go, because they didn't tell me. I was just kind of reliving what they did. Those ghosts, they were actually there trying to help. Another darker spirit had came in, and they were trying to protect the family that was living there. So sometimes spirits really they just like hanging out like my ghost, or there's the dark ones, or it's unresolved and they're holding other spirits thing, or this past one, they were really trying the family collected things, antiques and old things really have spirits, like the smell that's gone when the food is gone. So they brought in something that had a dark spirit attached. Or like another one I did, actually these are clients of mine, friends of mine. The one house I can't keep clear because I do house clearing because there was too much drug use there, and bad drug use opens up all of these portals for all this negativity, and no matter how many times we clean it, it would just come back. There had been, by the time we shot Ghost Adventures, there had been 7 deaths, a death in every room. And after it aired, before the boys lost the house, which is good they lost the house, one more death occurred even before that. It's just, when you get a dark side, but it's our realm of existence. So in my belief system and how I work, if something comes in and it feels okay, trust your intuition. If it feels okay, don't be afraid to talk. Hi, are you a ghost? Are you male? Are you female? Are you my grandma? Or listen for an answer.
What do they like to be asked? Do they like to be referred to as a ghost?
What's so funny, is that people usually kind of go jaw drop and shut up. It's like you feel something in the room and just go, and the ghost is like, ooh, they're waiting for you to talk. So if it feels okay, go, hi. Are you a spirit?
No, are they aware that we're unsettled by their presence?
Yeah, I think so. They can feel our energy. They really are pretty perceptive. They can. But if it feels dark, if it feels like, oh, this doesn't feel good, or even if it feels good, but I'm not ready for this, I'm a scaredy cat and I don't want it, go
Right.
get out in the name of whatever you believe in. If you get out in the name of God, get out in the name of Christ, get out in the name of your fancy shoes, get out in the name of your dog, get out in the name of science. The intent behind it. This is our realm and they have to play by our rules. I've believed that my whole life and it's always been true.
So
Always
here's a
been true.
question: Where do you go when you die? What are your thoughts on that?
I think again, I'm taking it down to energy, energy, energy. I don't, and I don't believe there's the classic heaven and hell. I
Hmm.
think that's just kind of most religion, or all religion, our belief systems. They're a template. They're a way for us. They're a roadmap. They're for us to explain how to get in and out of life and the world and a belief system. And it doesn't, somebody might use God, somebody might use Buddha, somebody might use science, somebody might use, but I take it down to energy. We are energy. Energy can't die. Science has proven that. A plant dies, it becomes something else. It becomes mulch that grows another plant. There's enough people who've experienced the death experience and yeah, they go to the light or this or that. I've talked to personally my whole life, enough dead people know that they're pretty okay. I
Well,
think there's a
what do they say they're doing? Like, what's their like? If what's the most information you've gotten from somebody? Like, hey, this is what's going on over here.
I think they each create their own reality. So let's go a little
Hmm.
matrix on that. So if you want to go to the pearly gates of heaven, you're going to. And going back, old ancient Phoenicians actually believed that. That was one of their belief system. They used places like, if you're in Iran, you go to Iran heaven. If you're in California, you go to California heaven. I think it's a belief system too. If you believe in pearly gates of heaven, you're going to go there. If you believe in Allah, you're going to go, kind of, again, creating your own place. I don't believe, in my experience, time and space exists there. So that's really hard for us time and
Hmm.
space beings to imagine that. And the way I came up with that, I believe in reincarnation, and I believe I know who I was in the last life. Also an actor. We had all these similarities. She was born, she died at 30. I was born exactly 30 years later. I changed my life at 30. I looked her up. There's my exact handwriting. I found her house without knowing the address, and then it was proved to me later. So I know I'm this person, Barbara Lamar. No one knows who she was. She was afraid of being forgotten. I am Barbara Lamar. I have no doubt in my mind. I've walked through a house. I knew every inch of it, found it without the address. And then I'm doing a séance. In walks Barbara Lamar.
Hmm.
What? How can that be? If I
Right.
am you and you are here, but again, if time and space doesn't advance, and if they could be, it's essences of. I don't believe I am here as Barbara Lamar stepped into my body, but
Right.
essences of, karma of, life paths of. So pieces of me are her, and then she's everywhere. She's
Yeah. Well,
everywhere.
I have my theories on some. Like, I mean, what you're saying makes just as much sense as when we have a deja vu. I would say,
I think that is a deja vu. Yes.
right.
And what if time and space does cross over, and you've already been there again?
Yeah.
If it, and I
Yeah.
think
Well, I'm trying to
science
think
is
of
going to prove all that too.
I think so. I think, well, like dreams, for example, dreams fascinate me. I'll wake up from a dream as like, I just experienced a life. Where did I get this information from? Where did I get these relationships from? Why is this in my psyche? And it's like whole relationships are in my dreams in a matter of hours. And
Yeah.
I couldn't create that in a lifetime, what's created overnight. So it's
Yeah.
almost like, did I live another life?
Yeah. I think, I believe we did. And you could even control. I do this thing I call dream school, and
Mm.
it's just putting a glass of water by the side of your bed. Water is a conduit. We are 70% water. Our world is 70% water. Water is the emotion. It's the flow of the emotion, and working air, fire, water, earth, like I do. Putting a glass of water by the side of your bed at night, and give it intent. You are to help me in my dreams. I want to, ask your guides or whoever you believe in. I want to know, what is the meaning of life, or what outfit should I wear tomorrow, big or little, or show me what I need. The water is a conduit, and it helps. What I believe and have experienced, and so do my people, is that you're allowing the universe to download you via dreams or just downloads while you're asleep, and your chatty, judgmental left brain, your reasoning, rational brain, isn't in the way. That's most of our problem, why we don't see through the veil, why many people, I believe everybody's got some form of psychicness in it, but that's your right brain. You can't judge your right brain with your left brain. You can't rationalize that intuitive thought you have. And in sleep, it's a really good way to learn that. Glass of water by your bed. It's on my
Okay.
website.
What would a glass of milk do?
Kelpie sleep. I don't know, but milk is really good for nurturing. I have people take white baths all the time. Throw in a handful of salt for cleansing. Throw in a handful of sugar for sweetness. Throw in a cup of milk for nurturing, and you can go back to your childhood and fix things that maybe got off wrong.
Oh, interesting. All right. Do you mind if I share a dream or experience that I had?
Love it.
Okay. So when I was a kid, I would have, I guess, what is referred to as night terrors, but I would be awake and I would see things. I was very prone to them as a child, but they seemed to deplete when I became older and I guess stronger with what's going on with around me. But when I was a kid, I was more open to seeing things. I would see things in my room all the time. There was one particular night that was just like, I would call it like the Hiroshima of nights for me. I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I heard circus music, like the whatever that, like it sounded like fair music, right? It was dark in my room, and my bed was against the wall, and an L shape was my brother's crib attached to my bed, so like an L, so my bed, and then his crib attached to my bed. And the circus music woke me up, and I was like, where's this coming from? And I put my back up against the wall to look around the room to see where I could find, where's this music coming from? My door opened, and in walked some sort of gray-like figure holding balloons. And he came in with the balloons, and he turned to look at me, and I was looking at him. I'm like, and I was like, am I supposed to be excited by these balloons and circus music? But I'm just like freaking out. So I'm screaming for my mom, like, Mom, Mom. And he lets go of the balloons, and the balloons float towards me. And one lands right in front of my face. And I put my back against the wall. And with my feet, I'm trying to pop the balloon, like just trying to make it go away because there's a balloon right in front of my face. My feet are just going through it. And I'm kicking my brother's crib, and he's waking up crying because I'm kicking his crib, screaming for Mom. And she comes in, crashed into the room, and everything, I guess, is gone at this point. Like, what's going on, son? You know, and I said, I had a bad dream, but I'm wide awake. And so she takes me to her room to sleep. And then I had another dream that night that I guess it was like, this was even crazier. I was in a room. I found myself in this room the size of like a closet. The walls and the floor and the ceiling were all made out of this hot brown substance, like tar, but it was hot. And I couldn't touch anything. I couldn't touch the walls. I couldn't touch above me. And then it closed in on me, and I knew that the material that was hot was closing in on me, and I couldn't get away, that eventually it was going to engulf me, and it did, and the pain was so severe that I snapped out of the pain, but I found myself with my back up against the ceiling, looking at myself sleeping next to my mom and my dad, and the pain went away. I was at peace. And I was only 7 years old. It wasn't until later in my life, you probably know what I'm getting at, that I realized what was probably going on. But at 7, I said, this is a weird dream. I'm looking at myself sleeping next to my parents. Maybe I should go back into my body. And so I went back in and said, well, how do I do that? I remember thinking, well, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, you just go in. And I kind of like, I remember the feeling of just kind of like, here we go. And it almost like a vacuum went into my body. And that was it. I didn't have those type of nightmares as strong as I did after that night. So a lot there. What do you make of all that?
I think that children do have that. That's part of development, just the psychology of it. And I do think, how is your feeling about, I'd say there's some past life stuff coming in there. How is your feeling about circuses or carnivals when you go to one? Do you have any weird little...
I don't need to go to one.
Okay, so again, I would say that's again, when that time and space goes through, maybe some little weird memory, a little part of you like going, oh, been there, done that kind of a thing, and you were frightened by it, and it was like a recall, almost like a deja vu. It's really interesting what you said, how you knew to get back in your body. I used to do that too. I used to have, okay, this is a dream, or this is not a dream, or this is this. Oh, what is my technique? I came up with sometimes elaborate techniques. Like I'm a gymnast. Like, okay, if I somersault 3 times, jump into a tunnel, do this, swim across the, I come back out. And then every time it would get a little more elaborate, but I would know how to do it. We do know how to step in and out through the veils kind of naturally, because again, no one has told us we couldn't yet.
Right.
And I think that's why kids in the development, they're going kind of putting together these different lifetimes or these different energy or in through the spheres of things.
Right.
And we do know how to leave our body and don't think about it.
Interesting. Yeah. So I've always had the dreams of always, now they're almost I look forward to them a lot now. So as an adult, they're actually not in a bad way. I love my life. I love my wife and children, but they're really kind of like almost like, the Star Trek of the holodeck,
Yeah.
So when I dream now, I'm always looking forward to what adventure am I going to have tonight. They're really just so elaborate and so real that I can't help but wonder, there's no way I can make this stuff up. How does my brain create these worlds that I couldn't create if I was awake? There's just no way.
Yeah. Again, because what do they think we use 10% of our brain as it is? Lord knows what those other 90% does. We probably have gone through worlds and veils and things and lifetimes. You should definitely try my dream school, because there's a little bit about empowering it and then doing a little download in the morning, setting your alarm for 10 minutes before you have to really get up. And when the alarm goes off, instead of, oh, I have to get up, feed the kids or whatever, go, oh no, come up with some question like, oh, okay, give me clarity, focus, and direction for today, or what is the meaning of life? Hit the snooze button, and when you wake up in 10 minutes, you'll have that answer. You'll have more clarity, focus, and direction. And then before you get up, and don't drink water by your bed. It's horrible. It collects. If you ever do, notice how bad it tastes. It's collected everything. Ghosts, dreams, emotions. Keep your drinking water further away. But before you throw out or water a plant with your dream water, download a minute and a half. Do any free form writing. You'll probably start automatic writing. Don't censor yourself. If you had dreams, write it down. If you don't remember the dreams, any emotions, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Patty's crazy. Here's my shopping list. But it'll come out of you. Just a minute and a half commitment.
I regret not writing some of these stuff down. I really do.
So take it. So that dream school, again, it's focused. It's you can create both lucid dreaming and then just way out there stuff with the amplifier of a glass of water. So
go ahead.
Go on.
Well, I was going to ask you, how does someone, like, if I had a presence in my home that needed resolving, I can call you to take care of that? Is that right?
I do that. There's a lot of people that do. I work elementally. Again, if everything is energy, a lot of people, the one thing I think a lot of people just do wrong is sage. They go, I got a sage stick and I cleaned it. Sage is good. It's really cleansing. You could buy them at farmer's market. Native Americans have used it, but it is a little harsh. If you just go, I'm going to sage my house, because whether you think it's ghosts going on or paranormal things or things flying off, or everybody's just cranky and we're not being creative and there's a lot of illness. Energy is energy. It can go both directions. And if you're going to just sage your house, it's just too harsh. What you're doing, you're getting rid of everything, good and bad. And it is almost creating a vacuum. It's like dusting your whole house and then leaving the doors and windows open in a dust storm. Right. So you sage it first. If you're going to cleanse your house, walk through your house, see what it feels like. Is there ghost activity here, or just we're not very creative here, or we don't communicate there, or I just feel icky in this room. Walk through the house, feel it. Then go counterclockwise, because when you're adding, always go clockwise. When you're releasing, always go counterwise, sunwise or starwise. That's just part of nature. So counterclockwise, go through your house with the sage or with a broom, sweeping out anything negative, calling out no spirits allowed here, whatever you want, counterclockwise. Make it feel empty. But don't stop there. Now you're going to go through again clockwise and add intent. Carry like a candle through, a white candle. Burn a sweet incense or anything sacred, anything angelic or frankincense and myrrh or sandalwood. And go now clockwise. Who's allowed in your front door? Only people invited in, people with respect for myself, my home, my family. What comes in that window? Light, inspiration. What is the feeling you want in your living room? What do you want in your bedroom? Great sleep, great intimacy, conversation. What do you want in your bathroom? Healthy, good body image, elimination, cleanliness, room by room, your children's room. And now you're filling it back up with color and texture. There's no more vacuum, and it'll stay that way for 20 times as long.
I would almost
that simple.
It's interesting. I mean, if we're talking about energy, and you talked before about how people in the next life may end up just kind of where they believe they should end up. It sounds like even in this conversation, I know there's some religions that bless homes through their religion, their prayers and what have you. So it sounds to me that it's almost kind of like whatever you can bring to the table, it's about positive energy.
It's all about positive energy and intent and focused, direct energy. If you're all over the place, like even if you're driving and you don't know where you're going and your windows are dirty and you don't turn all the lights on, you're all over, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're going, dang it, I'm going to Disneyland, you clean your windows, you put on your GPS, you get there. So with anything, I want a happy home, you have to, it's the laser beam intent is what the creation is. Body, mind, spirit. I mean, there's 200,000 books written. We don't do anything in our life, in our world, if we don't do it in our head first, right? I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be poor. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to eat, whatever it is. We do it in our head, and then our body take action. And then that third, that more elusive, is the spirit. That could be faith. It could be your faith or your belief system, whatever it is. That could be magic, spell working. That could be affirmations. It can be the secret. But all of those things are creating that laser beam, clear focus. When you have that, when you can smell it, when you can taste it, when you can feel it, you create it.
Nice.
And that's what the big secret is. Body, mind, spirit come together. You got it all.
What movie or TV show gets it the most right?
Oh, wow. What a great question. The one that I haven't made yet. The one that I'm working on. There's aspects that I think are great. And for every really bad one that gets it way wrong, and I get the sensationalism of going to the dark side with things, and that's more
it's like for anything, though. I mean, there's doctor shows and embellish. There's fireman shows and embellish. So TV shows are designed to embellish the reality of the world. I was just wondering if there was a show that kind of gets it okay sometimes, the most right. Like there's shows like The Medium and Ghost Whisperer and Supernatural, and
yeah, I think actually all of those have aspects of it. And what I do actually like about them, even when they go kind of sensationalized, is that it's putting it into the reality of people, that there's accepting this other reality, because I believe it's going to get stronger and stronger. The veil is thinning between the world. It is not the black and white, hard and fast, right and wrong, yes and no world of our parents. We are moving into that age of Aquarius, that liquid. There's not solid ground. I know what I know. It's moving under us. We have to go like this. The veil is thinning. So some of our standard belief systems, some of them are working for, some of them aren't. We have to be able to float or surf or dance through, because more and more psychic phenomena is going to happen. Science and spirituality are going to catch up. And again, it doesn't, it's your faith and your belief system. And if you want to, I don't think any of them are particularly wrong or particularly right if they're right for you, so long as that you're not hurting anybody. So long as, sorry about that.
That's fine. Absolutely. No, you got it.
Phone's ringing. Hopefully somebody else answers it. We'll just stop for a second.
Yeah, no worries. Maybe it's for Adrian.
Maybe it is for Adrian. She's calling up. She wants to call in. You know,
that'd be wonderful.
Caller. That would be cool. We could do that sometime.
See, I would love to talk to. It's like if any of them are listening. I wouldn't mind talking to a departed spirit. I guess I'm just scared. I feel like I kind of want to do it on my terms, if that makes sense. I don't want to. Why do they have to spook us in the night? Why can't they do it at 3 in the afternoon? Why is it always 3 in the morning?
Well, they can do it at 3 I do mediumship sessions all the time. I mean, today you want to talk to Graham, you want to do this or that. But at night, again, because the vision is different, you're going to see most spirits in your peripheral vision, not your straight vision. At night, you're going to see more. The darker it is, you're going to see more, because it's a different realm. It doesn't have to be spooky, though. Again, I get we're doing ghost adventures, I'm doing whatever, and people like the spooky, but it doesn't have to be spooky. And again, if you sat at a seance table with me, it wouldn't. It's better not to be afraid. If you get afraid, if there is a dark spirit, fear feeds it, anger feeds it. You treat it more like you're a parent, like you're reprimanding your child. It's like, something comes in, like I was saying, get out. It's not, we're tempted to do that. It's just like, get out. You are not welcome here. This is my home. This is my body. This is my family. This is my bed. You're floating in the thing. No. Right. And guess what? They will. But I think that's what TV gets it a little bit wrong, that it always has to be scary. It isn't always. Sometimes it is the most amazing, fulfilling, warm thing.
Well, that's good. I like those things. The last scariest thing that ever happened to me, I was 14 years old. You probably have heard of this before, and I almost don't even want to talk about it, because it's just talking about it just scares me. But I have you heard of the Shadow People? Yeah. Okay. Have you seen some? Well, so I'll never forget. I was about 13 or 14 years old, and I was sleeping on the floor of my brother's bedroom, because the other bedroom was being wet vac. My father vacuumed the floor, and they had it dry overnight, so the windows were open to let the evaporation go out to outside. So I was sleeping it was a summer night, sleeping on the floor, And I'll never forget, it was probably like 3 a.m. or whatever it was. It was in the middle of the night type thing. And I woke up just to look at the time. The desk was at my head, and the clock was on top of the desk, and behind the clock was the window, and the curtains were open. And I went to go look at the time of the clock, and where I was 2 stories up, and in the window was a shadowy figure looking down at me, and I knew it was looking at me, and I saw it looking at me, and it had no face. It was hooded or cloaked or something, but it was more of a shadow. I couldn't tell if it was clothed or not, but it was just a shadowy figure. And I'm like, oh my. And I somehow went back to sleep. I don't know how it's possible. I don't know how I kind of like, yep, there you are. You're looking at me. That's cool. This is great. But I didn't really see that. That's just too much. I woke up the next day. I'm like, okay, that was just a freak, whatever. Skip ahead a few months. I'm talking to my brother, and I share the story that I'm with him, and his face goes white. And he's like, I'm like, what's the matter? He goes, I saw the same thing in the other room on a different night.
Wow.
On the same floor of the house. But the curtains were closed. We could still see the shape outside the window. Now, this is before the internet, and when the internet came out, it's like, oh yeah, I wonder. Anyone else saw this shadow figure or whatever? So I googled it. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to know. I almost wish I googled it, and people were like, I've never heard of such a thing, but no, it's common enough that I could Google it, and there you go, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories.
Yeah.
What's their deal? What's going on here? Why are they looking in windows?
Well, they could be a whole lot of things. Again, there's many elements of elementals or dark spirits. Again, there's light and there's dark. There's good and there's not so good. And again, if you want to even go there, there's that whole otherworldly, the extraterrestrial thing, which I think a lot of it is. I actually think, like your little gray circus man. He was gray?
Yeah, he was. Actually, well, one last story, if you don't want to indulge me. This was the last one, but okay. This is why I really want to talk to you, because I figured if anyone could listen to my story and not think I'm a Looney Tune, I had the earliest memory I had about something different was I was in my crib, and this is like, you're in your crib. How could you remember anything? Well, I told the story to my mom growing up, and that's how I remember knowing the story, because I told it to her when I was older. But one of my earliest memories is I was in my crib, and I think it was the same place where that gray man came in with the balloons. I was in my crib, the one that I kicked later in life. So I was about two or three at the most, but no more than 3. And I woke up, and there was 4 to 5 figures looking down on my crib, and I'll never forget that they were talking about me. I knew that I was the center of their conversation, and being so young, I'm like, well, they're obviously not. They're adults. Like, my brain registered enough that these were not, but they weren't human. But being young, for all I know, there's just things like that out there. So I didn't throw into panic. Well, they obviously know what they're doing because they're bigger people, but they were thin and they were whitish gray. I'll never forget that they weren't human looking. Again, it wasn't until later in life when I saw on TV and people talking about it, it was like, oh, I saw that. And that's what came back to me. It's like, I saw those things, and I'll never forget them poking me and not hurting me, but it was just like, I turned my back, and I can still remember the poking of my back, the touching, and the conversation that I knew they were talking about me. What they were saying, I don't remember.
Right.
I don't know.
No,
so.
I think, again, they're out there. Why would we couldn't be the only beings out there? Again, different dimensions, different planets, different whatever it is. I remember that too. Some of my little friends that I talk about, again, there were spirits and there was ghosts. There was also little gray kind of people, and they were little like me, not quite as little as me. But again, it was years later, I go, oh, those must have been extraterrestrials. Who knew?
So here's a question I have. Would you rather visit another planet or walk a different plane of existence?
Both. I want to do both.
Right.
I actually do both. So, but no. And what's really I find is interesting, since we're going there to the extraterrestrial thing too. In my seances, you calling ghosts and spirits and elementals and angels and fairies. 3 times now I've done specific extraterrestrial seances. One of my mentors is actually an expert on the Anunnaki world. He speaks 21 languages, most of them ancient, like Sumerian, getting into that whole ancient civilization stuff. And so he gave me exact words and sigils and symbols. Whole different experience. There in my backyard was this big old blobby alien.
Wow.
but it seems like it must be different levels, because a ghost and an alien won't come to the same seance, not at the same time, one or the other. It's funny. Maybe there's a feud. No.
Yeah,
And then I did another one, and I had a group, 8 of us mediums, 8 clairvoyants, 8 mediums. And it turned into a whole thing. We literally were creating like a machine, energetic machine, like 3 of us with this weird arm movement and this thing, and then somebody's making this noise, and so wah, 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 wah. We created an energy grid, and then weird sounds coming out of each of us that all of a sudden tuned up, and then one starts talking. One of the when you hear it's like at my dining room table, and then a big old alien laid his arm across the table.
Jeez.
And I am a sane person. I'm not a whack job. It's like, okay.
So what's the rule? What's the rule of filming this stuff when it happens? What's the rule? Because there's going to be people out there saying, "How come you don't set up a camera?"
I've set up cameras. I mean, shows like Ghost Adventures catch it, and they're real. I know people can make fun of that show because the guys are so like. I remember for years it's like these macho guys in tight t-shirts and come on ghosts, you know, they lead them on, and then a pin drops and they run like little girls.
Yeah, I know enough to know that I'm not going to taunt. Okay. I wouldn't taunt.
Again, but the thing is about that show, they're legit. Like they do not tell me where I'm going unless it's, like I said, a place that they know. And they catch stuff on film, and this new equipment is crazy. When they see the little dancing, it's like science stuff is getting crazy. And spirits, because everything is energy, they can talk. That's how you could make a flashlight. That's why you could have a $1 app on your cell phone, ghost meter, which is probably not even supposed to be real, and it could be real. I had it give me the news once 4 hours before the news happened, when it was some big tragedy thing, because it's energy force. It's just a vehicle. So filming I caught the coolest thing I caught on film. I was doing it was right in my neighborhood. It was a famous old movie star, Mary Astor House. She had wild parties in the 20s. They were doing a documentary about it. It looked like a haunted house. It's 4 levels and kind of dark and spooky. Marilyn, Graham Parsons lived there, Rolling Stones, Mamas and the Papas. Most recently, Marilyn Manson lived and recorded there. He moved out because the house was too scary for him, Marilyn Manson. Wow. Well, so we walk in, it's like, ooh, we got spirits here. Nothing demonic, but 3 cranky spirits. Sure. And around the seance table were all these young people around 18 to 20, 21. Your life force is incredible. That's when the most stuff's going to happen at a seance. So I said, don't believe, just be open if you're a skeptic, but you have to respect this, because believe it or not, you have to respect this. And one kid, maybe because he was on TV, we had 2 crews there, so 4 cameras, their documentary crew, and I brought a TV crew. The first cool things were happening, like the French doors flew open, and I'm like, the producer side of me is going, wow, that's like TV, but it's real. Nothing, there was no special event. And it happened again. And then the speakers on the floor came on, white noise.
Yeah,
they weren't even plugged in. But then this
I've heard that.
This kid starts getting real idiotic, and we were getting kind of nasty information about what was happening at this house. And then he said, we got like this sex slave stuck in the 1920s. He said something really smart, Alec. We're using a Ouija board. My cameraman, Laurent Malachi, beautiful French Canadian, pointing at him, burst into flames. What? Spontaneous combustion. He burst into flames. A big V up his back like angel wings of fire. All of a sudden, cool witch, psychic, medium Patti becomes medic Patti, of which I am that too. It's like drop and roll. I'm pulling in my guardians, my spirits that I use, shutting down the veil. No. And his shirt burned off him like it was synthetic, like a polyester, but it was cotton. It should not have burnt up like that. And I'm like, we're done. I'm shutting it down. And then he was like, the kid got really well behaved.
No kidding.
Smart Alec kid. And Laurent was like, no, don't stop. He was so impressed by he's like, don't stop. He took off this burnt up shirt. I saw some blistering. He had a sweater. He put it on. It goes, go back. I talked to the ghost. I calmed the ghost down. I really laid some more grids of protection. Like I said, the kid got well behaved, and we actually finished the seance, and it went well. But I told Laurent, you have to go to the doctor because there's like 2nd-degree blistering.
Sure.
The coolest thing then the ghost did try to push him off the cliff.
Oh, wow.
In his car. We live in a hilly area. But I saw him 3 weeks later. He goes, look at this. On the small of his back where it had burned, it looked like he had went and got a tattoo of a dragon. It has the open teeth and the little winged head into the shape of a serpent. I work dragon energy. It's awesome. That was the protection I called in. So it's like he's got a little tramp stamp of a dragon on his back. But he was so inspired by it. He actually went and wrote a film with Stephen Norrington, the guy from the Blade series and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, about a TV psychic who's doing another show. She's legit, but opens a veil. Then it becomes a typical horror film. But it turned out to be all really good thing.
What film was that?
It isn't out yet.
Okay.
It isn't out yet. It's not shot yet. But because he just filmed another film instead for that. So that's on slight hold. But it was pretty wild. And we caught it on film. Oh, some of the cameras not. So it depends on the cameraman. Some people went whoop and followed it. Some you say, the camera's dropped and you're shooting the floor. Camera went up to the ceiling and shooting the ceiling. But we did. That's
crazy. Oh wow. Well, I would recommend just I'm a chill person. I'm a chill person in real life and the reality. And I'm not going to go around taunting otherworldly figures anymore than I taunt real people in real life. So hopefully they give me a break.
They'll give you a break. They're not going to. Why would they hurt you? They've never hurt me. They're not going to hurt you.
That's what I'm most afraid of. I just don't want them to pull my blanket off. That always scares me.
Yeah. No, my always scary thing, again, I try not to get scared because fear later. So I just I can't get scared. I am trained. I study all these philosophies. I know how to deal with a Hindu evil spirit. I know how to deal with a Christian evil spirit. I know how to deal. I'm trained. I know psychic protection. But my little funny thing is just the human side of me, that scary someone's hiding in your backseat. Somebody's hiding in your backseat. 2 weeks ago, I shot a new TV show. Well, it's not new. It's a #1 show on Viceland. It's called Bong Appetit, B-O-N-G. It's a cooking show about cannabis infused.
Right.
So I go, okay, that's fun. So I said, where do I drive? They go, oh, no, you don't drive to set. I'm like, what? They go, oh, this is a cannabis infused. No one drives. We'll send a car to pick you up. Okay, well, I'm not going to smoke anything. Séance. I have to be really straight. But you get in and you go, oh, I get it. The smoke in the room. I became a Cheech and Chong movie, but it was really fun. But the séance went really well and all this interesting stuff. But I think I did bring home a spirit. I went to the Hollywood Bowl the next night and I got the very best it's like a photo bomb by a ghost. The best ghost pictures I have ever taken. It's a picture of me and my friend sitting at the Hollywood Bowl. And then this big old ghost right between us. Clearest ghost picture I've ever seen.
That's
the
awesome.
Next day. And then the day after that, I was in my car, driving a car, and I saw this little head pop up in my rear view mirror. That scary thing that I have. I said, what? Who's in my back? Oh, it's just a ghost. I was much relieved to know it was just a ghost popping in it, not some scary human in the back. I'm much more afraid of people.
I guess that's you could argue that the people around us are the scariest things that we have to deal with in many ways. Before we close off, I noticed one little thing that I thought was kind of neat is you were on let's see here, the show Wipeout. I
was.
That's hilarious. So did you actually were on TV and did part of the course?
I did the big balls. I made it all the way to the finish line.
Did you?
Yeah, that was my midlife crisis. I believe we are these super amazing humans, and I had. Not going to my things, but my mom had taken a drug when she was pregnant with me, like they gave to pregnant women at the time, that caused all these health problems. So I was told at 30, there's a brain tumor and you have bad bones, and at best at 50 you'll be in a wheelchair if you're not dead from cancer. And at 30, like my Barbara Lamar die age, I went, not buying any of this. Every symptom went away, everything. So at 50, instead of being in a wheelchair, I'm like, screw you, basically. I'm going to try out for the world's biggest obstacle course. Like 70,000 people tried out, and I got on.
That's
doing
awesome.
magic. And I did it. The first girl came back with like a fat lip, and I knew I had a show the next day, so I can't have that. The second girl came back with, it's the hardest, scariest, most painful thing you could ever do. And it's ice cold water, and it was cold. She had welts, but I made it through the whole thing. I just didn't have the time to go to the finals, but I didn't want to be shot out of a cannon at night into a flaming water anyway. I just wanted to do it, but it was talk about it. It was truly, I had to put every bit, like to not run and scream to go, but I did it. And that was the most empowering thing I've ever done until I did MasterChef. Because I think what's scarier than the world's biggest obstacle course? Cooking
right.
For Gordon Ramsay. So
that's awesome. We love those shows, so that's awesome. Well, Patti, you're an absolute treat, an absolute joy, and you answered a lot of my own personal questions. Thanks for indulging me anyways and some of the questions that I had.
Right. And trust yourself. You're very intuitive. You know that. Trust it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope to meet you one day. You're in Hollywood, eh?
I'm in Hollywood. Come on down. Anytime.
Yeah.
I'll show you my town.
That's awesome. I'd love to. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're a real treat, and be sure to tell all your fans about this episode. And when I do the editing for the iTunes release, I'll send that to you as well. But if people want to, they want to see our beautiful faces instead of just listening to us, this link will be available for all time. They can go to this YouTube link.
Come on down. I will send everybody. If anybody wants to know more about me, go to pattinegri.com. It's all there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Patti. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a treasure. This was fun. Bye.
Night.